Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for a live dairy tour today. I'm your host, Tracy True, and I work on behalf of dairy farmers in the Southeast, connecting you to dairy's delicious nutrition. Today is an extra special day for a dairy farm tour because it's also National Farmers Day. Did you know only 2% of Americans are farmers? These men and women, along with their families, work hard every single day to feed our nation. Today, and every time we fill our plates, we honor and thank all of America's hardworking farmers and ranchers who plow, sow, grow, and harvest to put food on in our grocery stores and on our tables. Today, our team is at Hickory Hill Dairy in Edgefield County, South Carolina. And you're in for such a treat because your dairy farmer and tour guide today, Daniel Dorn, is going to give you a behind the scenes look at how cows are cared for, fed, and milked. Daniel is a fourth generation dairy farmer, and his farm uses state-of-the-art robotic milkers. How cool is that? But before we get started, I want to be sure you know how to get your questions through to us on this live tour. If you're joining on Zoom, use the Q&A feature. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, put your questions in the chat or comments section. We will answer as many questions as we can, so please don't be shy. We want to hear from you. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Daniel.
All right. Welcome to Hickory Hill Farm. My name's Daniel Dorn. I'm a fourth generation dairy farmer here. My dad is here with us, and my grandfather is still on the farm. So we have three generations here on the farm right now, and it's a pretty cool experience to have your family here with you. And anybody that lives on a family farm, you know what I'm talking about. So like I said, I'm fourth generation in the dairy business. I'm 10th generation farming the land here. We started the dairy business back in the mid 1950s. The facility that we're at right now is our new robotic milking facility. We just built this a year and a half ago. We've been in here since May of 2020. We have two robotic machines in here that milk the cows. We'll talk about those here in a few more minutes. While we're here out on the feed bunk side, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the feed and cow comfort, which is the most important part about this barn here. So if we're going to talk about the feed a little bit here, you can see we have what we call a total mixed ration here. It consists mostly of corn silage, which is just a corn plant all chopped up, the whole plant. We've got ground corn in here. We've got soybean meal. We've got a custom mineral blend that is formulated just for our cows. We've also got some soybean hulls in here. So the cows really love it. They eat about 90 to 100 pounds of this feed every day, along with what they get to eat in the robots, which is kind of a little treat that keeps them coming back to the robots. We'll talk a little bit more about them here in a few minutes. As we can see in here, we see the bedding that we use. It's a 200 cow freestall barn. We milk about 120 cows in here right now. We built the barn with expansion in mind. We can put a third robot if we want to and have up to 65 to 70 more cows. We bed with sand, and sand is a great bedding material because it does not harbor bacteria like other beddings do, and it drains very well. So we keep the sand clean. We scrape the sand out every day. Any manure that gets in there, we scrape it out and keep their beds clean. We groom their beds for them and everything like that, so they have a good place to lay. Cow comfort is the number one driving force behind this barn. We want to keep them as comfortable as possible. So we have these fans in here. We have misters along the feed lane side that when it gets to a certain temperature, it'll shoot water on their backs and cool them off. So it's all about keeping these cows cool and comfortable here in South Carolina. It's pretty hot down here. Even right now in October, it's pretty warm morning here. So as we can see down here, we have the full length of the barn. The barn is 456 feet by 76 feet wide. The cows live, eat, and sleep in here, milk in here. They love it in here. Whenever we dry them off and take them to the dry cow pasture across the street, we they always ready to come back over here as soon as they get over there. So knowing that they try to come back over here on their own is a good indication that they're very comfortable here.
That's great, Daniel. We have a question coming in for a viewer. They want to know, how do you clean the barn? And where does the water go after you clean the barn?
So this is a flush barn. There are two main lanes with rubber. We have rubber down here on the floor. That helps the cows' feet and legs rather than walking on straight concrete. And these two lanes are flush lanes. We have a 30,000 gallon flush tank up at the other end of the barn, and this barn is on a slope. So when we open the valve, the water will come up out of a valve in the floor, and it'll wash a big wave of water down each one of these lanes, and it'll carry everything out the end of the barn, manure, sand, anything, and it'll carry it down to our sand lane down here, in which we recycle the sand. The sand will settle out, and we will recycle it and reuse it once it dries back out. All the effluent water and manure will go to the lagoon, where the solids will be separated out, and the liquid will be reused as flush water again. So that's recycled as well. So it's all about sustainability and keeping the place as clean as we can. It works really well.
That's great. Let's take a question from our audience while you walk over to our next stop in the tour. We have Laura, and she wants to know how much milk is produced in a day.
So each cow milks, right now we're averaging about 85 pounds per cow per day. And we get around a little over 10,000 pounds of milk. We measure in pounds, and there are 8.6 pounds to a gallon. So you're looking at over 1,000 gallons a day, 11 or 1,200 gallons a day here right now at our farm with 120 cows. So
that's quite a lot of milk. It looks like we've made it to where the magic is going to happen. So we are in the milking parlor. Let's see what happens next.
All right, so here we have our robotic milkers. These are the De La Val BMS 300s here. And these machines came out in 2019, and we've had them since May of 2020. The cow will walk in voluntarily to the stall, and then she will get a little bit of feed in the feed manger in front of her. It'll just drop down, and she can eat her allotted amount there. As she's eating her feed, the robotic arm here, which has a camera on the end, will go through the milking process. It'll wash each teat, and then once every teat is washed, it'll come back and it'll put the milking cups on. So it has 4 milking cups and 1 wash cup. As we see this cow here now, she's already had the milkers attached. So she's just sitting there eating her little treat and milking out. And once she gets done milking, the cups will automatically detach. And the last step in the process is it will spray iodine on her teats so that bacteria can't get in there. So it's antibacterial material that we use to keep those teat ends clean. So now you'll see it go back up under there, and it'll spray each teat with iodine, keep them protected when they're out in the barn.
Wow, that is so amazing. Now,
yep.
Daniel, we have a question from Deborah. She wants to know how the cows are trained and acclimated to the robotic milkers.
We usually train the cows when they first come in. The cows that have never been here before, we put them in the robots and we milk them. We attach the cups by hand the first couple of times because that's what they're most comfortable with. And then after a couple of times, once they realize that feed's in there, they won't really pay attention to what's going on behind them or up under them. They just want to eat that feed, and then they allow the robot to finally do it about the second or third milking. The cows that have been here before, when they have a calf and come back after 2 months, they already remember what to do. It's like riding a bike, and they love it. So they remember, and they'll go right into a robot like they've been doing it the whole time.
We have one more question for you. What would happen if the electricity went out?
If the electricity goes out, we have a big generator outside that used to be at a hospital that we bought, and it'll automatically kick on and it'll run this whole barn.
So you have a backup plan. That's always good.
Yep. 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 Yeah, this cow here, she's being a little shy. It's funny because we used to milk them all with attaching the cups by hand at the old dairy. And so they were used to people being in the barn. But now that it's just the robots, they're more used to just kind of being on their own and doing their own thing. So when we come around, they're like, what's going on?
They're very intuitive, it sounds.
All right, here she goes. Yeah, they are. Here she goes. She's finally going up in there.
How many times a day
And
is
this
a
is
cow
the
milked?
beginning. Depending on the cow, since it's voluntary, they come all at different times. And some cows get milked twice a day. Some get milked 3 or 4 times a day, depending on how often they want to come. There's a buffer period after they get milked where they can't come back for several hours, but the earliest that most of them can come back would be 6 hours or so. And so if they get milked every 6 hours, then, you know, they can milk 4 times a day.
And how long does it
And we
take
have
for
several that
each
do.
cow to be milked?
It takes around 6.5 minutes for a cow from the time she starts her milking to the time she walks out on average. So
Wow.
right now it's washing all the teats, and it can see what it's doing by that camera on the end there. And you can see as comfortable as she is in there. She's not moving around. She's not kicking. She's just in there as comfortable as can be. And it does not hurt them. They enjoy it. They like to be milked, and they love that little bit of feed they get while they're in there. So
that is so interesting. I love learning more about this robotic milker. It seems like it is a very useful tool to use.
it is. As we can see here on our robot screen, this is a touch screen that will show us a bunch of different information about the cow that's in there right now milking. We can see the cow number, it's 1839. We can see each one of these circles in the middle of the screen is how much each teat is given in real time. And we can also see what process that the machine is on right now and which ones it's already completed. So it's a pretty neat little screen, and we can see all kind of different bits of information. And all of that information gets sent to the computer and recorded so that we know what cow gives how much milk and everything like that. So we have every piece of data you can imagine with these machines. So
that's excellent. Well, while you walk to our next stop, I will take another question from our viewers. We have a question from Laura Vandries. And Cece would like to know the average age of cows. Well, Cece, cows can live to up to 14 years old, but it really depends on the breed of the cow. But what we do know is that cows will live longer under the care of a farmer, because the farmers take excellent care of them, and they make sure they are fed and comfortable and that they receive veterinary care. And so it really just depends is sort of the definitive answer there. It looks like Daniel has made it to our next stop. And where are we now, Daniel?
We're in our tank room here now. This is where all the milk storage is for us. We have a big 3,000-gallon tank on the far end, which all the milk gets pumped into there from both robots. And then we have a 2,000-gallon tank over here, and we pump the milk into there manually by hand. And then from there, it gets taken to our milk plant and bottled. We bottle all of our milk here. The name of our milk is Hickory Hill milk. So that's how we harvest the milk and take it to our milk plant.
And tell us, how is the milk chilled before it goes into the tank?
These tanks have chillers on them, but there's also a cooling press over here that the milk will go through, and it'll get cooled down to about 70 or so degrees before it goes into the tank. And then from there, the tank will cool it down to 36, 37 degrees. The reason why you have that initial immediate cooling when it comes through those pipes is to help the tank not have to run so often. It just helps it out. Instead of going from 100 degrees down to 37, it only has to take it from 72 or 73 down to 37.
That is great. How long does the milk stay in the tank?
The milk stays in the tank normally less than 48 hours because we'll go ahead and go bottle it, and we'll take everything out and we'll go bottle. That gives us a chance to wash the tanks basically every 48 hours to make sure they're clean, to make sure we're getting our milk out and going and bottling it. So 48 hours is about as long as we'll ever have the milk in one tank.
Well, Daniel, this has been so great. I bet you didn't know there are a lot more people than just the Dorn family who work at their family farm. Hickory Hill's Moo Crew includes a herdsman, a calf caregiver, milk plant operators, and milk truck delivery driver, to name just a few. The Dorns work with off-site large animal veterinarians and nutritionists too. These are just a few agricultural career options that go beyond farming. So next, we're going to meet up with Moo Crew member Jamie Pearson, who plays a unique role as the marketing director and agritourism specialist at Hickory Hill. Jamie helps the Dorns with graphic design, their social media content, and she educates visitors on all things Hickory Hill milk. So we can't wait to see where the milk is going to go next. Take it away, Jamie.
Hey, so great. Now it's my part of the tour. Welcome to Hickory Hill. And like they mentioned that I am part of the Moo Crew here. And my part of the tour is to show you the ropes on how we bottle milk in our milk plant. So follow me. We've been bottling milk since 2009 here in our milk plant. Matter of fact, our first bottle of Hickory Hill rolled out February of 2009. And just so you know, raw milk is straight from the cow to your glass. And there are 3 different types of pasteurization levels: low temp, high temp, and ultra high temp pasteurization. And pasteurization is how much you heat it up or cook your milk. And here at Hickory Hill, since we're a small family farm, we have the time and the ability to do the low temp pasteurization method. That's what we choose to do. So we heat it up in one of these tanks. They hold about 700 gallons, but we normally cook about 500 at a time. You can look at the screen. There's a circle on it. That's a dial. That's actually paper in there with a little arm like a clock that it keeps track of how hot the milk gets for how long, and that's part of our food safety plan, and those are stored for our records. But when we low temp pasteurize our milk, we heat it up to 145 degrees and hold it there for 30 minutes. It kills all the bad bacteria, but it keeps all the good bacteria or probiotics beneficial to your body and aids in digestion. So once the milk is done cooking, it goes through a series of stainless pipes that has filters along the way. And the very back of the room, you can see a cooling plate that's cooled with Freon. And so it's cooled instantly. So it goes from 145 degrees and cooled instantly to less than 40 degrees. And then it's transitioning these pipes again up here onto where we bottle the milk. And this counter over on this side is where we're not bottling milk right now. They're actually boxing it so you can't see it and work. But Mr. Joel stands right here and he hand places the jugs onto the conveyor belt, which is right here with an ink stamper, which stamps the milk jugs with the date and the born on date. So the born on date is actually the date it's bottled. And it's also the labels are applied. And then it goes to the first set of merry-go-round, and it has a paintbrush on it. So that just lays the labels down flat. And each of those little stages, I call them, it picks them up, pulls them down. So when the jugs are up high, it's actually filling the jugs up with milk, And when it's done, it lets it down. And then it goes there, hits a bumper, goes into another merry-go-round where the lids are applied and then pressed on. And then from there, they go back to the conveyor belt and then go through a milk car wash. It washes the jugs off because it can be messy. Goes to the car wash, and the guys pick them up from this area here, place them in the jugs, and then by the time they get about yay high, they use the hand trucks to take them to the freezers where we store them to be loaded on the trucks or boxed up and taken to, and the food distributors come and pick them up. And that's how we do it here. And we also, I did not mention that we do not homogenize our milk. So that's why I only told y'all how we pasteurize. When you homogenize milk, it applies thousands of pounds of pressure to bust the fat up. And that's why they refer to ours as cream line, because the cream rises to the top. And that's just how we do it at Hickory Hill.
That's fascinating, Jamie. Thank you for telling us more about that. Do you process all of Hickory Hill's milk at this facility, or does some of the milk from the farm go to other processors?
We bottle all of our milk here. We actually bottle 5 days a week, and you heard Daniel how you we keep it in the tanks over there. And so 5 days a week we bottle here. On Mondays we have a large order where we pasteurize milk, and it's picked up in a bulk tank and taken to another facility, and they use it to make cheese and whatnot. But all of our milk is bottled here for us.
That is fantastic. We have a question from a viewer. Chrissy Nexon's class wants to know, how do you make chocolate milk? And do you make chocolate milk at Hickory Hill?
So we do whole milk, which is the white milk, whole chocolate milk, and whole buttermilk. And we get this chocolate milk question quite a bit. So and I'm assuming probably wondering, you saw the cows are black and white, not brown. A lot of kids think that chocolate milk comes from brown cows, and that's not the case. I tell people that it depends on the time of day the cow prefers to be milked. If she gets milked at nighttime, you get chocolate milk, and you get white milk when they milk during the daytime when it's bright outside. But I'm really pulling your leg. We have a special mixture we use, and if you've ever watched TV and you see the commercial and the dogs know the recipe and they can't spill the beans, I really can't spill the beans on the recipe, but we do mix our chocolate milk here. A very special recipe.
That is so great. Do you also make butter at Hickory Hill?
No, we do not make butter with our milk. We don't take the healthy fats from our milk to make butter, but you can make butter with our milk yourself at home using a cold mason jar and filling it about halfway full and shaking the life out of it, and you can actually make butter that way.
That is fantastic. I might have to try that myself sometime. All right, well, this has been incredible. Let's head back outside and see if we can take some more questions. Daniel, can you tell our viewers how many cows are milked at Hickory Hill?
We milk about 120 cows here in the barn. Like I said, the barn's built for 200. So we had built it with expansion in mind, but at the moment we milk about 120. Each robot can milk up to 65 to 70 head per robot per day. So we're close. We got a little room left in there, but about 120 right now.
Wow, that is quite a lot of cows. We have another question for you, Daniel, from Lauren. She wants to know, how do the milking cups know when a cow is finished milking? Is it based on time or the amount of milk that is being released?
It's based off the volume of milk that the cow is producing. There are milk meters on each one of those hoses going back to the receiver jar and then to the tank. So as it goes through that milk meter, it knows that milk is going through there. And when the cow is done milking, all the milk will be out of her udder and she'll be done. And once it senses that no more milk is coming out, it'll detach. So it's based off of volume of milk coming through rather than time.
All right. This can be a question for both of you. So let's have Jamie answer first. We have a first grade class who wants to know, do you have a favorite cow?
Do I have a favorite cow? Yes, I do. I can't really remember at the moment what year she was born, but she has a Mickey Mouse black print on her side, and I nicknamed her Minnie way back long ago when we raised her from the calf farm. But that would be my favorite cow out here.
That is excellent. You know, cows' spots are like fingerprints, and they are unique to every cow. So that is so interesting. They have a Minnie Mouse spot. How about you, Daniel? Do you have a favorite cow on the farm?
Well, we have a lot of cows in here in the barn that are really sweet and they like to be petted. Some cows don't like to be petted. A lot of them don't like to be, but we have a select few that do. But I would have to say my favorite cow is probably a younger cow that my wife and I used in our wedding as our unity cow. We tied a cowbell around her neck, and kind of connected the chain as a form of unity at our wedding. So we still have that cow. She's here. She's a young cow, but that would probably be my favorite one.
Well, that is a very special cow. All right, we have another question from Mrs. Nexon's third grade class. They want to know, how big do the cows get?
The cows can get anywhere between 15 to 1800 pounds, so just shy of a ton for the female cows. And we have all female cows in here. They're all girls. We don't have any bulls, but the bulls can get up over 2,000 pounds, so they can get a good bit bigger. So
Awesome. Daniel, here's your last question. We have some folks who want to know, what's your favorite part about being a dairy farmer?
I'd have to say my favorite part about being a dairy farmer is being able to do all kind of different stuff every day. You're not doing the same thing every single day. You pretty much have to be a jack of all trades to be a dairy farmer, which means that you do different stuff. You're not great at one specific thing, but you're good at a lot of different other things. And I think jacks of all trades have kind of gone to the wayside, but I think as a dairy farmer, that's something you have to be. You have to do crops, cows, equipment, electrician, plumber. I mean, you have to do everything, and it just helps in your daily life outside of work and outside of the farm too, to know all that stuff. So I think that's probably my favorite part about it. It doesn't get boring either. So
Yeah, that would definitely be never a boring day at work for sure. And Jamie, you have a very unique role at Hickory Hill. So can you tell us what your favorite part about being the agritourism specialist is on the farm?
Oh, goodness. I always tell everybody I actually have the dream job. I wanted to be a teacher growing up, but actually in the classroom wasn't my thing. I always want to be a veterinarian, but biology wasn't my thing in college. But I've always had that little artsy creative side. So my degree is actually in, I have an art degree of all things. But I'm out here, I educate people, I do their social media, and I'm around animals all the time. So I love going to schools or giving tours out here at the farm. But I think the best part of my job would be getting chocolate milk. I kind of work for it. But if y'all don't know, chocolate milk is the official beverage of Halloween. So my favorite part might be the chocolate milk.
All right. Yeah. Everybody will have to head out and get a glass of chocolate milk for Halloween in a few weeks. Well, guys, this has been so interesting and enjoyable, but the time has come. We have to wrap it up. So thank you, viewers, for your questions. We hope you enjoyed today's tour as much as we did. I also want to extend a huge thanks to Daniel and his family for giving you this behind the scenes look at their dairy farm today. The work you do is incredible, and we all learned so much. And to Jamie, thank you for sharing your time with us. Now, don't forget, the Dairy Alliance is your resource for all things dairy. So visit our website for the latest dairy research, recipes, and news. You can even meet our incredible dairy farm families all across the Southeast. So go to thedairyalliance.com and please take advantage of the resources that are brought to you by the generosity of our hardworking dairy farm families. Thank you again for joining us, and we wish you a very good day. That's all for now.
Okay. My mouse is trapped.